Back to triads, and in the case of the dominant seventh chord, it's not really a triad, is it? Because it has four notes in it. The dominant seventh chord has in the key of C. We started on the dominant note of the scale, or the fifth degree of the scale, making it the dominant. And we build a chord through tertian harmony, take a note, skip a note, take a note, skip a note, that deal. And we end up with G, B, D, and F as the notes in a dominant seventh chord, in a G seventh chord. So in a piano voicing, it sort of stinks on the guitar. There it is right there, G, B, D, and F. Now, obviously, there must be a way to abbreviate this chord. And the way to abbreviate the chord is we just get rid of the fifth, because the fifth is a little bit on the redundant side, because it's so strongly present in the root of the chord. Now, you may want to check out a video on the harmonic overtone series. I think I shot one a while ago. So every note is made up of a spectrum of notes. That's the harmonic overtone series. The fifth is very strongly present in the root. So that's why we can take it out. We can just take out the fifth and nothing much is going to happen. Okay, so we take out the fifth, and now we have a dominant seventh chord that is voiced G, B, and F. No D. And then when we invert that, it's a B, an F, and a G, and invert it again. We have an F, a B, F, a G, and a B. Okay, so those are the inversions of the dominant seventh chord with no fifth, and we do that on the guitar fretboard. We have a G, B, D, G, B, and F. There's a dominant seventh, a G7. You probably all know this voicing of a G7. It's just the top three. So G, B, and F, and then G, B, and B, F, and G. Okay, and then we have the F, G, and the B at fret 7, and then we have a repeat of the first chord. All right, so at this stage, a little bit different. I'm just going to take a look at a 1, 4, and 5 chord progression just on the top string set. So C, F, G7, and C. Same deal here, C, and C. Right, and C, F, G7, an octave higher. So the most common chord progression of all, 1, 4, 5 chord progression, and we could just do these chords as the 5 chord as just a three note G major chord, but that then we lose that very important F. The resolution is much stronger from the G7 chord to the C chord when we have that F. So we put it in. Yeah, you could do it with just a G chord, but it's a little less interesting. As you can see, there's an example where C is quite different than you have that movement. The F falling to the E of the C chord, and the leading tone moving up to the root of the C chord. Okay, So you get a more interesting resolution, a stronger resolution when you add that seventh. So that's why we add the seventh and take out the five. And then let's take a look at the next inversions of the G7. In this case, I've got the seventh on the bottom, root on the bottom, right, third, and then okay, and I would suggest you can do the same thing again. You just make up your own, your own practice method, but you don't want to go astray from the fact that you're building a chord progression, right? And you're building these chord progressions up and down the fretboard. It's not just about learning one chord, like I'm going to learn a dominant seventh in a whole bunch of different positions, because you have to know how these chords traditionally, most commonly, resolve what happens to the chord progression. 1, 4, 5, 1. Right, and you can start to mix. You can mix up string sets. So as I just did there, we could hear C, F, G7, and C, resolution. Move around the fretboard and get used to doing that. Okay. So of course, the same thing is going to apply to the next string set. String set 3. In this case, you've got a kooky voicing there with a big, huge. Some of you have big hands and you can do that easily. Right, and then F. A crazy one. Okay, you get the idea, and then you go through the bottom string set. The bottom string set is the third string set, very, very useful. You'll use it all the time. The bottom string set gets a little dense, admittedly. Right, but you still, you should still know it. You don't want any gaps in your learning. So there you go. So what you're doing is you've already gone through at this stage. You've gone through, your C major chords, and they're comfortable. Then you've done the same thing with your F chords, and then you put C and F together. Then you put C, F, F minor, and C together all over the fretboard. You get the idea. Okay, and now we're just taking all of this one step further, and at this stage we're doing a 1, 4, 5 progression. We will again add the 4 minor a little bit later on. And now the reason these chords are chosen is because they're the most common chords in our music in the Western world, right? And the guitar is a polyphonic instrument. It's not meant to only play scales or single note lines. It is meant to harmonize melody, and that's what triads are all about. I mean, not learning triads is and wanting to play guitar is a little bit. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy, but there are many. Let's put it this way: you just can't do that. Triads are as much a part of guitar playing as this is, or as the blues scale, is. They have to be used, but they're probably and learned, but they're probably the most neglected because it takes a little bit of work. You have to build them into your practice routine. If you don't have a practice routine, check out my video on practicing. I've got a couple or three, I think. And this is all for the player who is serious about playing and wanting to move ahead and wanting to understand and wanting to learn how to hear and listen. So that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you real soon.